Welcome to our Natural Habitat Adventures online presentation today. We're here to talk about hiking the captivating Caucasus of Georgia. And we're actually joined live from Georgia this afternoon by Olaf Malver. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about Olaf before I turn it over to him. Olaf's enthusiasm is unparalleled for exploring the planet's most remote and dramatic destinations. He speaks 6 languages and has a PhD in chemistry and a master's in international law and diplomacy from Tufts University. He's also a former science educator at University of California, San Francisco. Olaf has been an adventure travel guide for more than 25 years, pioneering numerous paddling routes on groundbreaking expeditions, particularly in Greenland. A serious outdoorsman, he has climbed mountains, traveled by dog sled, and hiked in more than 80 countries over 35 years. He is a fellow of the exclusive Explorers Club, an honor bestowed on only a handful of the world's premier adventurers, and Chief Exploratory Officer at Natural Habitat Adventures. And so, Olaf, delighted to be here with you today. Can't wait to hear more about this fabulous journey. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Lee, and thank you for everybody to hooking up here to listen to this webinar. I should say good evening, because I'm actually, as Lee said and mentioned, that I'm in Tbilisi in Georgia, and it's 12 o'clock right now. So good evening to everybody. And what we're going to talk about today is a place which is just north of here, north of Tbilisi in Georgia. That is the Caucasus Mountains, which you can see in the background of the text of the seminar. So that's me on a dark evening in the Caucasus Mountains, and I've been very lucky to work for Natural Habitat Adventures for several years. We started a smaller company some years ago called Explorers Corner, and then Natural Habitat took over with me at the helm. And what we basically did was we went out and discovered some really remote places on Earth, and many of them were kayaking trips. And in the meantime, I moved to Georgia from California, and that's where I live right now. And I live here permanently with my family. So it's been quite a journey, and it still is. And what I'm going to talk to you about is exactly that trip in Georgia that you can see on the middle of the globe turned this way. You can see it's close to Turkey and in the eastern part of Europe, and it is pretty easy to get to. So if you fly here, you can get here in many ways. You can fly via Germany in Munich, you can fly via Paris, Rome, Scandinavia, and London. So you can use all kinds of European hubs to get to Tbilisi, Georgia, from North America or Europe itself. The specific trip that I'm talking to you about takes place in the northeastern part of Georgia. Here is Georgia, located between Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia as their land borders, and the Black Sea on the left side as the Western Sea border. And you can see in the middle here, you can see the capital of Tbilisi, where I'm talking to you from right now. And that's where you're going to fly into. Georgia is quite an amazing country. You can see that the northern part of the country is one long, very steep and very spectacular mountain range, and that is called the Caucasus Mountains. That mountain range is actually higher than the Alps in Europe, and the highest mountain in that part of the world is Mount Elbrus, which is just north of the border in Russia. We have 5 million people here living here, and it is we call it the green oasis of the Middle East or of Eastern Europe, And the reason is that these mountains accumulate a lot of snow in the winter, and all that snow melts in the summer and runs down, and basically makes these green valleys extremely fertile. So this kind of fertility or fertile grounds have been attracted by many different armies and peoples throughout history. Mongolians, they came here 80 times just they say they came to Georgia to water their horses and to feed their horses, give them some grass so they could go on and conquer the rest of Eastern Europe, even Moscow. So it's a very fertile country, and it's in between the Russian steppes and the more arid parts of Turkey, Azerbaijan, and further south, Iran and Iraq. And so it's really that green eye. If you look at it from a satellite, it's a green eye that's looking in out in space. The route that Natural Habitat is offering is the red line circle. We like to do circles, and not go in and out the same place, but really make it a journey through the different and habitats that Georgia can offer. And we started in Tbilisi, and I'll go through the itinerary very shortly. And after Tbilisi, we drive north into the mountains up to Kazbeki, just on the Dagestani border, and then from there we actually fly into Tusheti National Park, which is right in there. The Tusheti National Park is where the circle is, and the reason I came to Georgia originally was a part of a World Bank team. The Global Environmental Fund came in here in order to make these previous zapovedniks, which was very strict protected areas made by Stalin, into glorious national parks. Because after the Soviet Union's collapse, all these zapovedniks were under the big threat because of the economic collapse of many of the countries in the former Soviet Union. So we went in and made a management plan for Tusheti, and Tusheti is now one of Europe's biggest and most unknown national parks, and I'll show you how beautiful it is there. So the highlight of this trip is our hike into Tusheti National Park. And in fact, my wife is from there, and she's going to be the guide on the trip, and I'll show you pictures of her as well. So we are going to visit friends and family, and really get a very close personal connections to the people who live up in this remote and spectacular mountain area. And after Tusheti, we then drive down to the lowlands near Telavi, and now we are down in the I call it the Napa Valley of Georgia, in the lowlands here, where the vines are grown in Georgia. And it was actually here where the first vineyards started in the world 8,000 years ago. The archaeologists found traces of seeds in old amphoras, and so the original birthplace of wine is in the area around Telavi called the Kekkaishi Valley. So of course that is going to be a big part of the trip. That historical, enological element is really important on this trip. We then continue on to Sinyagi, which is an old city in far eastern Georgia, very beautiful old city, and we're going to explore the historical monuments there, and we then in the end we end up at Tbilisi. So that's the loop, and basically it goes through these three areas: the Kazbeki area, the Tusheti area, and the wine country area in Telavi and Sinyagi. Just a little bit about Georgia. I'm sure you all, not all, but many people are apprehensive about these kind of countries these days. And for sure, there's a lot of problems in Syria, and there used to be problems on the north side of the border. But today, I can guarantee you, it is an incredible, safe and lovely place. So if you're a traveler who wants to try new and exciting things and explore areas where people are not goose stepping after each other, but go to more pristine places where local people are still not spoiled by mass tourism, and you like mountains, you like culture, then this is certainly a great place to visit. So just to sum up, we're gonna on day one. We're gonna arrive to Tbilisi and do the classic historical tour. We then move on and drive only 2-3 hours up to this mountain area called Kazbek, and I'll show you some pictures of that. And at that place, we will have a chance to walk up to an absolutely glorious little church, the Kekkaishi Church. Now we have changed the itinerary since last year because we decided to make the trip a little bit easier, so more accessible to more people, more clients. And instead of hiking over a very high pass, 14,000 feet pass, we decided to make an exciting helicopter flight into the national park, and then hike a few hours from there into our bed and breakfast in the park. And then our hike starts in Tusheti National Park, and on that trip we will stay in the bed and breakfast that have been very popular with high-end travelers. So this is the part where we really will see lots of birds, and I think one of the highlights of the Tusheti National Park is apart from the birds and some of the few ungulates we will see, is the flower, the botany of this place here. There are 17 endemic species in Tusheti, and the flowers are just in full color when we go there. And then we drive down to Kakheti, to the wine tasting area, to the Nat Hab Valley, and simply just enjoy life and hike around a little bit, and go on to Chinyagi, and come back to Tbilisi, and then you fly home. So it's a 9-day trip, which is what people now want to do these days. They don't want to do 14 days, but of course, if you have 14 days, then we can make some recommendations to you, either to do an extension in Armenia. I think Armenia is worth a few days, or you can do a day or two in Baku in Azerbaijan and get a fuller Caucasus experience. A lot of our clients who have done these trips with us here in Georgia, they actually fly to Istanbul first, and we have great recommendations for you, hotels and other things to do in the Istanbul area for 2 or 3 days. Some even add 3 days on top of that and go to Cappadocia to see the historical sites there. So you can package together a lot of things, and we can give you some great recommendations to get a full Middle Eastern, Caucasus, Turkey experience. So the guide is my wife, Eka, and as you can see, she's an avid horseback rider. She likes to jump around crazy on horses, and she now has one of these Akhaltek horses, which is from Turkmenistan, which was given to her via a friend from the president of Turkmenistan. And we have 5 more horses in our stables next to our vineyards, and she has a total of 21 horses, and we use some of these horses to carry her gear up in the mountains. She lived in Virginia and was educated in America, and then came back to Georgia. And I actually met her many years ago. Well, not that many years ago, 12 years ago, in the Caucasus Mountains, in the high meadows of Tusheti. It was love at first sight, and now we have 21,000 bottles of our own wine in the basement, produce wines, have two children, run this company together, and have a lot of fun. So she's very enthusiastic, and she gets great feedback, and you're gonna love traveling with her. So the first night in Tusheti, in Tbilisi, we'll pick up in the airport, of course. Many of the flights come in very early in the morning, unless you fly with Turkish Airlines. So you might want to decide to take Turkish Airlines. It's a very good airline, and they have arrivals at reasonable times, not at 3-4 a.m. in the morning. So if you come in there midday with the Turkish airline arrivals, Tbilisi will drive us to the hotel, which is the Hotel Citadel, a 4-star hotel with a fantastic view, built old style, but still with modern amenities, just below the Narecula fortress in the old town of Tbilisi. We might even have a little surprise for you, because Tbilisi is located at some very old hot springs, and they have some Turkish bathhouses there. Tbilisi, it means hot water, so that's why Tbilisi got its name from that. So it's quite a lovely town to walk around in, and we'll do the sightseeing right there. You see the Mikvadi River run through the city, and there's lots to see. Old religion, bustling life. It's really the Paris of the Caucasus, and it has been restored since 2008. There's been a big program by German and other agencies, development agencies, who have helped support restoring the city, and it's become a really lovely place to explore. The new cathedral is on the upper left side there, and we'll visit old buildings too. And depending on the group, we'll do a longer or shorter hike in the city, a sightseeing hike in the city, and you can peel off if you want to do your own shopping. But what you want to do is to be back in the hotel, because we have a welcome dinner later that night. The next day, we get in on into our little 4-wheel drive buses, and we drive straight north. We stop at the Ananuri Monastery to have a lunch in the free air. And one thing that's another good thing about Georgia is that they love good food, and because they have that rich earth, they have some great vegetables, they have great fruits, they have great traditions with shish kebab meat and sausages and so forth, and the wine just is all over the area. So you will be fed very well on this trip. There's free wine galore, of course, and good wine as well. And that's the only complaint, if we can call it that people have had on these trips, is that they eat too much. But it's good stuff, that's for sure. So then we end up at the Kazbegi area. You can see Mount Kazbegi at two of the pictures here. One of them with a hiker in front of the south face of Mount Kazbegi. It's almost 5.2 kilometers high, and has these amazing, majestic glaciers coming down from the sides. And in front of it is this Gargeti church that we can hike up to. And you can see the Gargeti church on the two left pictures from one side and the other, from two different perspectives. And it is possible for those who are not interested in doing too much hiking. This trip is built in such a way that there's always an option to hop in our 4-wheel drive vehicles and just drive up, or maybe decide just to drive halfway and go up with the guide and the assistant guide, which would be Gary Bolton, another veteran of natural habitat adventures. So what I'm trying to say is that this trip caters to to people who who can walk and also those who want to walk much less. The only mandatory hike we have is, in fact, when we do the helicopter trip the next day, we have to hike about 2,000 feet down to a four-wheel drive road, and there we can either drive or we can walk. So we at Kekkaishi, we stay at another luxury hotel, 4-star, newly restored, with a fantastic view of the mountain, and we'll try some of the local cuisine there, of course. Then the next day is exciting because we hop into a safe and big, well equipped helicopter, and Mikoyan 8, and it's quite exhilarating to jump in there and start seeing the Caucasus from above. By the way, on the picture in the lower right side, you can see my then 5-year-old son testing the pilot's instrument. He's not going to be your pilot on our trip, but he loved it. We fly over the Atunta Pass, and then we land in the deep into the national park in Tushet. A sped will wait for us, and we'll have great lunch in the free air. The weather in the mountains here is generally very, very good. 90% sunshine, but of course it is mountains, so you never know. On the equipment list that you will get, there will be recommendations to take your rain jackets and your rain pants, and also some wind gear. And the other thing that is important for you to have is good hiking boots. All your gear will be transported by 4-wheel drive or horses, so you don't have to carry anything on your back except your camera, your rain jacket, and a water bottle, and binoculars to see the birds above. So it's really easy hiking. But we call it, we do call it trip. We rate it moderately, but as you can hear when I'm talking about it, is that there's only 1,800 feet of mandatory hiking. So here we go, just to show you some of the images from the trip and the hiking possibilities. You hike on grassy meadows with narrow paths. Some of them have some stones on them, but it's pretty easy hiking. And if you want to take your walking sticks, of course you can do that. Now, Tushet National Park and all its lovely wildflowers is more than just a wild mountain range. It's also a cultural landscape, and we will very often pass by old stone towers. You can see the stone buildings on the top to the left, because people used to live here. They don't live here all year anymore, but they used to live here all year. So you really feel a very close connection, not only to nature, but also to historic culture when you hike in Tushet National Park. If there's any rivers that come high up, again, we will supply horses to cross you over dry and safe. In Tushet National Park, we will visit two villages that now have newly restored bed and breakfast mountain hotels, and these are with double twin and double bed accommodations. They have one of them have shared toilets. That's the one in Dadlo, which is the one where you see the stone tower above the bed and breakfast there. But otherwise, you have your own bathroom when you come to Omelo. They're quite comfortable, but again, they are shared a bathroom in one of the places. And again, we definitely mingle with the local people. You can see how Eka is sitting in front of some of my family members right there. The accordion comes out, and Georgia is very, very famous for having a good time around the table. Maybe that's why, as a Danish guy, I like to be there because that's what we do in Denmark as well. And it's called the Supra, and that's a Georgian saying that guests are coming directly from God, and they are treated like that. So there's a huge tradition of toasting. There will be a man in charge of toasting at the table. It's not the guy on the upper left right corner, but other guys will often take charge of the table and toast to visitors, to your neighbors, to your children, to beautiful women, to good luck and peace and so forth. And we even might have a chance to drink some good wine from some of the big horns that go around in the circles. So be prepared for some good social time as well. The four-wheel drive vehicles we use are all air conditioned and very comfortable. And most important of all, the drivers are fantastic, and they need to be, because as you can see on the upper right-hand corner picture, that is the road that we drive down from Tusheti National Park to the Kakheti wine country. Very steep and one of Europe's most spectacular scenic routes, but you need to know what you're doing, and we have always had very safe conditions doing this, and people enjoy it tremendously. So that's a little bit of adventure in itself. Now we come down to Kakheti, and this is the Alaverde Cathedral. It is the main cathedral, beautifully located under the snowy peaks of the Caucasus, and that's where my father-in-law actually is a priest. And you can see already here the proof that this is the Napa Valley of Georgia, the vines growing between acacia poles in front of the beautiful 8th century cathedral. That day when we come down to Kakheti, we will visit our vineyards. That is an exclusive visit by tourists to our estate. We have a private estate there of about 100 acres planted with Mukusani, Kisi, Katiteli, and Sabarabi grapes. But you will be invited into our wine house, and if you want to, we can also go for a little walk up in the vineyards, and for sure, taste the good drop that we now produce as Danieli Winery. By the way, the reason it's called Danieli is that it means the dude from Denmark in Georgian. That's my Georgian baptism name. So welcome to Georgia. After that little private visit to an exclusive visit to our vineyards, we'll drive over to my friend Gia, who has a nice hotel with a swimming pool. It's called Chateau Mere, and you just love that place. It's very funky, but very luxurious as well. And that's where we're going to stay after you have hiked up in the park, up in the mountains. So next day, we do some wine tasting. I think depending on the group, we will visit two places, two of the best wine places, wineries in Georgia, and one of them will be tasting some of what we call Kvevri wines, which are wines made in traditional clay jars, and some of them will be a winery where we taste wine made more in a European style. And you can compare, and you can pick your choice. You can buy wines there. You can have a good time, and of course, we will have a glorious meal somewhere in the vineyards with drinking this kind of wine. And we'll end up in Sinyagi, which is the city that you see on your upper right-hand corner, and now restored, beautiful, almost what shall I say, Tuscany setting. In the shadows of the snowy Caucasus, and we'll have the local band come and sing for us, and we will stay at the best hotel in town again, Hotel Cappadoni, which has great views of the mountains. It's a good place to say goodbye to that night to Kekkaishi, and actually we don't say goodbye, we say gaumajus. Gaumajus is cheers, and in Georgian, and it's actually a picture taken from Tusheti, where we came down after 6 days of hiking, and people were quite thirsty. Great group of people, and we had a lot of fun. So should I just highlight the highlights of this trip? I will mention is that it is remote, little traveled, and safe. And I would say that we have probably chosen, we have chosen the best villages, B&Bs, and luxury hotels in the towns we visit, and connecting those for some fun and easy hiking, and sprinkling and accelerating the helicopter ride certainly makes this a classic natural habitat trip, and we get great feedbacks from the clients who have taken these trips. And most importantly for us is of course, to explore one of the premier biodiversity hotspots in the world. As you know, we work very tightly with the World Wildlife Fund, and they have been active also in Tusheti for years. I was on a program there where we monitored leopard activity, and also we have been counting wolves and bears and mountain goats. And the World Wildlife Fund was also one of the first ones who was part of developing some ecotourism facilities in Tusheti National Park. So they are active here, and we're happy about that because they are our partner all over the world. And finally, on top of all this great accommodations and nature and natural habitats, we sprinkle it some good food and some wine, and there you have it, a super trip to the Republic of Georgia. Just down to the numbers, we have 2 dates open right now. They are equally good. The July 5th departure is mostly popular because of the rhododendrons that are growing in high Tusheti. But August 16th to 24th is also a fantastic trip because of other flowers, and also the temperatures are a little bit higher in the mountains. The cost is $5,000 per person, and not including international air, but of course it includes the helicopter flights and all the wine and the food. And if you want to be single, have a single supplement, we can help you with that. And the trip is guaranteed with a group size from 1 to 14 persons. So with that said, I think I have spoken enough for 35 minutes, and I like to be short and direct, and I'll be more than happy to take questions from our audience and see if I can answer them.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Olaf. It was a great presentation. So those of you listening, if you have questions, you can send those in now through the question box that's over on the right-hand side of your screen. You may need to click on the orange button with the white arrow to get it back. So let's see. There's a question here. I think that might have been on the previous slide, but there was a question about, what has been the average number of people on this trip? I mean, I think you talked about the maximum number, but what's the average number of people that you've seen on these trips?
Oh, see, last year we had 3 trips. We had one trip that had 14 people, one trip had 8 people, and one trip had 3 people. And the previous years we had 3 departures where we had 10, 10, and 8. So those are the kind of numbers we had.
Okay. Now, as far as packing, I know you said the guests don't really need to worry so much about transporting their luggage, but are there any luggage restrictions?
Well, no, not really. I mean, what really determines is how much you can fly with to Georgia, and then we ask you to pack all your stuff in a soft duffel bag because it's easier for us to pack that in our follow vans. And also that first helicopter ride, we'd say don't take more than 44 pounds with you for the helicopter ride. We have chartered the whole helicopter, but it's just a hassle to have too much with you. And also, we have to take horses to transport your duffel bag from where you land with the helicopter to where we meet the dirt road where our vehicles can pick up the luggage and those who don't want to hike all the way. So I would say, no, a 44-pound duffel bag would be sufficient for you.
Okay. And then what about pocket money? How much pocket money would you suggest people bring? And what about the currency conversion? Do you suggest just doing it when they get there?
Yeah. It's very easy to change dollars into Georgian lari. We'll show you changing places all over town, safe changing places, and very good exchange rates, no problem. I mean, it all depends on how much souvenirs you buy. People always take an extra empty duffel with them when they go to Georgia because there are some fantastic carpets to be bought. You can see these carpets here we have here with this guy smiling here on the back slide here is that's classical Tuchetti colors. These are brown, green, and ochre colors, and people like those. But we also have carpets from Turkmenistan, even from Bukhara and from Armenia, and people fill up their duffels and buy cheap but lovely carpets going back. And those carpets they cost from between $50 to $1,000. And there are also other things. There's very nice enamel work for ladies for earrings and other stuff to hang around your neck. There are very nice iron work, the knives, Tuchetian knives. There's great clothes. So we'll show that. We'll show all that to you on the trip. So I think you should take, if you're a normal shopper, unless you really are focused on getting coverage, you should bring about $500 for shopping. And those $500, I would suggest you just check that you don't have any very torn dollar bills because these changing places don't accept torn but rather crisp dollar bills.
Oh, that's a good piece of advice. Thank you for mentioning that. What about entering the country? Are there any visa requirements?
No, absolutely not. We have just entered an agreement with Europe that all tourism could come in, and all you need to do is to get a stamp in your pass when you come in. It's really modern and westernized.
Okay. And back to spending money, there was a question about whether credit cards are widely accepted.
Yeah, they are widely accepted in town. I mean, often you have to pay a certain processing fee when you use credit cards here. So you should definitely bring your credit card as a backup, but otherwise I would take cash.
Okay, very good. And then getting ready for the trip, another question here, is there any need for any vaccinations?
Not at all. I mean, you should have your little medical kit, but you don't need it. There's no yellow fever or any Ebola or any nasty diseases here. Your standard polio, diphtheria, and tetanus injections that you get every 10 years, that you should have for sure. But there's no nasty diseases in Georgia at all.
That's great. Well, it sounds like an amazing trip. We've gone through all of the questions that we had, and I know that we'll have the replay available for everybody to recall, and I know you've got some contact information there if anybody has other questions. So I think we'll wrap up the question and answer then, and I'll turn it back over to you for closing comments.
Yeah, well, great. I think you guys had some really good questions for this trip, and all I can say is that we get fantastic ratings because we ask for your feedback after the trip here, and both the guide and the staff, and also this very unique combination of nature and culture in a safe and beautiful new tourist destination just makes this trip a very big success. So I would not hesitate grabbing the phone and calling our office and get on with it. All right, thank you very much, and hope to see you over here. And I'll definitely be pulling some corks for you when you come.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Olaf. It was great to be with you. Thanks for staying up and sharing all of this information. I know it's now on to the next day for you, well past midnight. So we'll let you go get some shut eye. But thanks again for being here with us, and thanks everybody for listening in. Have a good day, and this will conclude our webinar. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.